Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza, you can't help but feel it, that eerie, almost electric sense of standing in the presence of something far greater than yourself. The sheer weight of history presses down on you, as if those massive limestone blocks aren't just stacked stones but pages of a story written in a language we've only begun to decipher. This isn't just a tomb or a monument, it's a riddle carved into the earth, a puzzle left behind by a civilization that somehow achieved the impossible. And here's the thing, it's not alone. Scattered across our planet, from the windswept plains of Peru to the rolling hills of England, ancient wonders like Stonehenge and the Nazca Lines defy explanation, challenging us to ask, what did these builders know that we've forgotten? Think about it, these structures weren't just thrown together, they were meticulously planned, aligned with the stars, and infused with symbolism that still baffles experts today. The Great Pyramid's dimensions mirror the Earth's measurements with uncanny precision. Stonehenge's stones track the movements of the sun and moon like a prehistoric calendar. The Nazca Lines, those gigantic geoglyphs etched into the desert, can only be fully appreciated from the sky, a perspective their creators supposedly never had. Coincidence, or is there something deeper at play here? A hidden thread connecting these monuments across time and space. That's the journey we're embarking on today. We're not just touring ancient sites, we're peeling back the layers of history to uncover the secrets encoded in these age-old monuments. Were they built as messages to the gods? Maps to lost knowledge, or perhaps warnings for future generations? The answers might rewrite everything we thought we knew about our past. So let's step into the shadows of these wonders together, because what you're about to discover will leave you seeing history and humanity in a whole new light. There's something almost magnetic about these ancient monuments, the way they pull us in, not just with their size, but with the sheer weight of their secrets. Take the Great Pyramid, for instance. Modern engineers still scratch their heads trying to figure out how workers hauled 2.5 million limestone blocks, each weighing as much as a pickup truck, into perfect alignment without so much as a laser level. And that's just the beginning. The pyramid's sides are aligned to the cardinal directions with an error margin smaller than 1/15 of a degree. How theories range from advanced lost technologies to painstaking trial and error, but no one knows for sure. That tantalizing gap between what we see and what we understand, that's where the fascination takes root. But it's not just about construction techniques. These monuments whisper of deeper purposes, ones that blur the line between science and spirituality. Look at Stonehenge. For centuries, people assumed it was a druid temple until astronomers realized its stones track solstices and eclipses with eerie precision. Was it a celestial calendar, a sacred site where heaven and earth connected, or something else entirely? The Nazca Lines add another layer to the puzzle. Etched into the Peruvian desert, these massive drawings of spiders, monkeys, and geometric shapes are invisible from the ground. So why create art you can't see? Some suggest they were offerings to gods who viewed them from above, while others propose they mapped underground water sources. Every explanation feels like a piece of a much larger story, one we're still piecing together. What's truly remarkable is how these monuments transcend time, speaking to something universal in us. They're not just relics, they're mirrors. When we stand before them, we're forced to confront the limits of our own knowledge. How much wisdom has been lost to the ages? What could these builders teach us if we could decipher their language? Maybe that's the real magic, not just the stones themselves, but the way they ignite our curiosity, urging us to look deeper, question harder, and wonder what else might be hidden in plain sight. The Great Pyramid of Giza doesn't just dominate the skyline, it defies logic. Every measurement, every angle, every seemingly deliberate choice in its construction whispers of a sophistication that shouldn't exist for its time. Take the pi phenomenon. The ratio of the pyramid's perimeter to its height is 2 pi, a mathematical constant the ancient Egyptians weren't supposed to know. Then there's the golden ratio embedded in its proportions, a concept later formalized by the Greeks, coincidence or evidence of a deeper understanding lost to history. But the real jaw-dropper is the precision. Those colossal limestone blocks, some weighing over 15 tons, fit together with gaps thinner than a credit card. No mortar, just perfect alignment, a feat modern engineers struggle to replicate even with lasers and machinery. How did they do it? Some argue for simple tools and brute manpower, while others point to ultrasonic cutting or even levitation techniques whispered in ancient texts. And let's not forget the pyramid's alignment. Its sides face true north with an error margin so slight, it's like hitting a bullseye blindfolded from a mile away. Then there's the bigger question, why? If this was just a tomb, why encode advanced math into its bones? Theories spiral. Maybe it was a resonant power plant harnessing Earth's energy. Its inner chambers vibrate at frequencies that match human brainwaves, accidental or intentional. Others see it as a cosmic antenna, its shafts aligned to stars like Orion's belt, mirroring the heavens on Earth. Even the materials tell a story. The granite inside conducts electricity, while the limestone casing once reflected sunlight like a beacon, symbolism or function. The line blurs. What's undeniable is this: the pyramid challenges our timeline of human achievement. It's a wrench thrown into the gears of conventional history, forcing us to wonder, were the ancients tapping into knowledge we've yet to rediscover? Or is the truth even stranger, hidden in plain sight beneath 4.5 millennia of sand and speculation? One thing's certain, the more we study it, the more questions it raises, and that's the magic of this monument. It refuses to be just a relic. It's a conversation across time, daring us to keep listening. Stonehenge rises from the English countryside like a question carved in stone. Those massive sarsen slabs, some weighing over 25 tons, weren't just dragged into place. They were arranged with a precision that still leaves scientists speechless. The most striking detail, the heel stone, positioned to catch the first rays of the summer solstice sunrise, painting the entire circle in golden light. This wasn't random. It was a deliberate, almost obsessive alignment with the cosmos, a feat that required generations of sky watching and stone moving on a scale we can barely fathom today. But here's where it gets even stranger. Those iconic blue stones at the heart of the circle, they weren't local. Geologists traced them to quarries in Wales, over 150 miles away. Imagine Neolithic people without wheels or draft animals hauling these multi-ton monoliths across rivers, valleys, and rugged terrain. Why go to such lengths? Some theories suggest the blue stones were believed to have healing properties, turning Stonehenge into a prehistoric hospital. Others point to the eerie acoustic properties of the site. When struck, the stones produce resonant tones that might have been used in rituals. Then there's the astronomical genius baked into its design. The Aubrey holes, a ring of pits just inside the earthworks, may have been used to predict lunar eclipses by tracking the moon's 18.6-year cycle. That's not just marking time, that's advanced celestial math, encoded in dirt and stone. And let's not forget the winter solstice alignment, when the sun sets perfectly between the uprights of the Great Trilithon, as if the builders were mapping the very heartbeat of the seasons. So what was Stonehenge really? A temple, a calculator, a bridge between worlds? The truth might be all of the above. unlike the pyramids which shout their grandeur, Stonehenge whispers. Its purpose shifts with the light, revealing layers of meaning to those who look closely. Maybe that's why it captivates us, not because it gives answers, but because it keeps asking questions, challenging us to rethink what ancient people were truly capable of. The stones stand silent, but their mystery echoes across 5,000 years, daring us to listen. High above the Nazca Desert, the truth reveals itself, but only if you know where to look. From ground level, the landscape appears as nothing more than sun-baked earth and scattered stones. But climb just a few hundred feet, and suddenly, the ground transforms into a sprawling canvas. Gigantic spiders, hummingbirds with wingspans stretching the length of a football field, geometric spirals so precise they could have been drawn with a compass, all etched into the earth with lines so straight they could rival modern laser measurements. The Nazca Lines aren't just art, they're a paradox. How could a civilization over 2,000 years ago create designs so massive and exact without ever seeing their own work from above? Theories abound, each more fascinating than the last. Some argue these geoglyphs were sacred pathways, walked by priests during rituals to commune with the gods. Others see them as astronomical maps, their shapes mirroring constellations or marking solstice events. Then there's the water theory, perhaps the most compelling of all. In one of the driest places on Earth, the Nazca people might have crafted these lines as desperate prayers to deities for rain. Certain geoglyphs align with underground aquifers, suggesting a deep understanding of hidden water sources. Imagine carving a colossal monkey into the desert, not for decoration but as a plea for survival. But let's talk about the how. Without drones or planes, how did the Nazca achieve such precision? Archaeologists have uncovered simple tools, wooden stakes and ropes used to plot the designs. By scaling up small models, they could have transferred the patterns to the desert floor. Yet even with these tools, the margin for error was virtually non-existent. A single misstep in measurement would have distorted the entire image. The fact that these lines remained flawless across centuries is a testament to the Nazca's extraordinary skill. Then, of course, there's the more speculative angle, the ancient astronaut hypothesis. Could these lines have been landing strips or signals for extraterrestrial visitors? While mainstream science dismisses the idea, it's hard to ignore the eerie fact that the Nazca created art they couldn't see, as if meant for an audience in the skies. Whether you buy into that theory or not, it underscores the deeper mystery. The Nazca Lines were made with intention, but whose eyes were they truly meant for? What's undeniable is their enduring power to mystify. Unlike the pyramids or Stonehenge, the Nazca Lines don't tower over us, they hide in plain sight, revealing their secrets only from a vantage point their creators never had. That's what makes them so haunting. They're a reminder that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only pondered. And perhaps that's the point. Maybe the lines weren't just messages to the gods, but to us future generations who'd stare at them in awe, still searching for answers across the gulf of time. Easter Island's moai stand like sentinels frozen in time, their hollow eyes gazing across an endless ocean as if waiting for answers that never come. These massive stone figures, some weighing as much as 80 tons and towering over 30 feet tall, aren't just sculptures. They're the last whispers of a civilization that pushed its limits to the brink. Carved from volcanic rock at the Rano-Raraku quarry, each moai was chiseled with stone tools, a painstaking process that could take a team of craftsmen over a year to complete. But the real mystery isn't just how they were made, it's how they were moved. Imagine dragging an 80-ton block of stone across miles of rugged terrain without wheels, without animals, without even sturdy trees for leverage. The islanders' solution: they might have walked them. Experiments show that by rocking the statues side to side with ropes, teams could have maneuvered them upright in a slow, deliberate shuffle, guided by nothing more than human strength and rhythm. Other theories suggest log rollers or even pathways greased with sweet potato paste to reduce friction. But here's the haunting part. By the time Europeans arrived in the 18th century, many moai lay toppled, abandoned mid-journey, as if the island itself had given up. What drove this obsession with carving and transporting these giants? The leading theory points to ancestor worship. Each moai may have represented a revered lineage chief, their presence meant to watch over villages and channel spiritual power. But there's a darker twist. As rivalry between clans grew, so did the statues, larger, more numerous, as if size could proclaim dominance. This spiraling competition came at a cost. To move the moai, the islanders needed timber, and they cut down every last palm tree until the landscape was barren. No trees meant no canoes for fishing, no materials for shelter, and eventually, no way to escape a collapsing ecosystem. The very symbols meant to ensure prosperity may have hastened their downfall. Yet the moai's story isn't just one of tragedy, it's a mirror. In their silent faces, we see our own reflexes, the urge to build bigger, to outdo, to leave marks that outlast us. Easter Island is a microcosm of a planet grappling with finite resources. Those hollow eyes don't just stare at the horizon, they ask us quietly what we're willing to sacrifice in the name of legacy. And perhaps that's why these stone giants haunt us. They're not relics of a lost people, they're a question carved in rock, one we're still learning how to answer. The Great Sphinx of Giza crouches in the desert like a silent guardian, its weathered face gazing eastward as if keeping watch over secrets buried in time. That iconic blend of human intelligence and lion-like strength isn't just artistry, it's a statement. But here's the twist. The deeper you dig into the Sphinx's story, the more the timeline unravels. While mainstream archaeology pins its construction to pharaoh Khufu's reign around 2500 BCE, the Sphinx itself seems to whisper a different tale. Look closely at its body, and you'll notice something odd: the erosion patterns. Unlike the sharp, wind-carved grooves seen on other 4th Dynasty monuments, the Sphinx's surface bears deep, undulating scars that resemble weathering from heavy rainfall. Here's the catch: the last time the Giza Plateau saw that kind of rain was over 7,000 years ago, long before Khufu's time. Could the Sphinx be a relic from an even older civilization, one lost to history? Geologists like Robert Schoch have championed this theory, arguing that the monument's true age might rewrite our understanding of human achievement. Then there's the mystery of its missing nose. Popular myth blames Napoleon's troops for the vandalism, but historical sketches reveal the nose was gone centuries earlier. Some Arab historians point to a Sufi cleric in the 14th century who defaced it to protest idolatry, while others suggest it was deliberately removed to conceal the Sphinx's original features. Could its face have once looked entirely different, perhaps even non-human? The questions pile up faster than the desert sand, but the real intrigue lies beneath. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed hollow spaces and tunnels under the Sphinx's paws, sparking speculation about hidden chambers. Edgar Cayce, the famed psychic, once prophesied a hall of records buried below, filled with Atlantean knowledge. While that remains unproven, modern surveys confirm anomalies, possible rooms or passages yet to be explored. The Egyptian government has been cautious about excavation, leaving us to wonder what might lie in those shadowy depths. So what was the Sphinx's true purpose? A royal portrait, a celestial marker aligned with the constellation Leo during the age of Leo 10,000 years ago. Or perhaps a warning, like the Greek myth, it inspired a riddle meister guarding the threshold to forbidden knowledge. Every layer of sand shifted seems to reveal another question. The Sphinx doesn't just defy easy answers. It thrives in the space between them, challenging us to reconsider not just its origins, but the very timeline of human ingenuity. Standing before it, you can't help but feel the weight of that silence, a silence that speaks volumes. Machu Picchu clings to the Andes like a dream half-remembered, its stone terraces stepping down the mountainside as if the earth itself had been sculpted into stairways for the gods. This isn't just architecture, it's alchemy. The Inca builders took raw granite and transformed it into walls so precise, not even a blade of grass can slip between the stones. No mortar, no gaps, just friction and perfection holding together for over 500 years, surviving earthquakes that would topple modern buildings. But the real magic lies in what we can't see at first glance. Those walls, they're not just stacked, they're alive, slightly tilted inward, their curves and angles designed to sway with tremors rather than resist them. The Incas didn't just build a city, they engineered a conversation with the land itself. Then there's the celestial choreography woven into every stone. The Temple of the Sun, with its trapezoidal window perfectly framing the June solstice sunrise, casting light onto a ritual stone like a spotlight from the heavens. Nearby, the Intihuatana stone, often called the hitching post of the sun, stands as a physical calendar, its angles marking the changing seasons with shadow play so precise, modern astronomers still study its design. Was this place a university for sky watchers, a sacred stage where priests performed rituals timed to the cosmos, or perhaps something more practical, an agricultural research station, its terraces acting as microclimates to test crops at different altitudes? The truth might be all three, but Machu Picchu's greatest enigma isn't how it was built, but why it was abandoned. Unlike other Inca sites ravaged by Spanish conquest, this city shows no signs of battle or forced evacuation. Food stores were emptied, precious objects removed, doorways sealed, as if its inhabitants simply walked away one day, leaving behind only echoes. Some theories suggest a smallpox outbreak raced ahead of the invaders, decimating the population. Others point to the site's reliance on a complex water system. One landslide could have cut off its lifeline. Then there's the haunting possibility that Machu Picchu was never meant to last. Maybe it was a temporary sanctuary, a place of initiation where knowledge was passed down before being deliberately vacated, its purpose fulfilled. The most tantalizing clue lies beneath the surface, literally. Recent LiDAR scans reveal a labyrinth of tunnels snaking under the ruins, some leading toward nearby peaks, others disappearing into darkness. Were these escape routes? Spiritual pathways to the underworld, or evidence of a network connecting sacred sites across the empire? Whatever their purpose, they remind us that Machu Picchu's visible beauty is just the tip of the iceberg. The real story lingers in those shadows, waiting to be uncovered. Standing among its silent stones, you can almost hear the whispers of the last caretakers, their footsteps fading into the mist as they carried secrets we've yet to rediscover. Göbekli Tepe shatters everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. Nestled in the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, this sprawling complex of massive stone circles isn't just old, it's ancient in a way that defies logic. Carbon dating places its construction at around 11,600 years ago, a staggering 7 millennia before Stonehenge and 5,000 years before the first cities of Mesopotamia. But here's what really turns history on its head. This wasn't built by farmers or settled communities. It was crafted by hunter-gatherers, people who supposedly lacked the organization or resources to create something so monumental. The pillars alone are a mystery that lingers in the bones. Each one weighs up to 20 tons, carved from limestone with nothing but stone tools, then dragged from quarries over half a mile away. Their surfaces ripple with intricate reliefs, scorpions, foxes, vultures, and other animals frozen in motion, as if the stones themselves are alive. The craftsmanship is so refined, so deliberate, it whispers of a skill level we never attributed to people of this era. And then there's the layout. The circles aren't random. They're arranged with clear intention, some pillars aligned to celestial events like the summer solstice. This wasn't just a gathering place, it was a sacred stage, a temple before the word temple even existed. But the plot thickens. Around 8000 BC, someone deliberately buried Göbekli Tepe. Not by accident, not by natural disaster, but with meticulous care, hauling in thousands of tons of soil to entomb the entire site. Why? Theories range from ritual closure, a symbolic death of the sacred space, to a radical cultural shift that rejected whatever beliefs the pillars represented. Some even speculate it was hidden to protect knowledge, like a time capsule meant for future generations. What's undeniable is the ripple effect this site sends through our understanding of human progress. For decades, we've been taught that agriculture came first, enabling surplus food, which then allowed for specialized roles like priests and builders. Göbekli Tepe flips that script. Here, it seems, the spiritual came before the practical. People built temples before they built houses, pursued the divine before they planted wheat. Maybe it wasn't farming that birthed civilization, but the human need to worship, to gather, to create meaning. And that's the haunting question Göbekli Tepe leaves us with. What else don't we know? If hunter-gatherers could engineer marvels like this, what other chapters of our story have been lost to time? The site is a whisper from the shadows of prehistory, daring us to reconsider not just when civilization began, but why. Every carved animal, every buried pillar is a puzzle piece to a picture we're only starting to see, and it's rewriting humanity's origin story one stone at a time. The hanging gardens of Babylon dangle in our imaginations like a mirage there, yet just out of reach. Ancient writers gushed over their splendor, tiered terraces bursting with fragrant blossoms, vines cascading down towering stone walls, a jungle paradise rising defiantly from the Mesopotamian desert. The Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II supposedly built them in the 6th century BC to soothe his homesick wife, who longed for the lush mountains of her homeland. But here's the twist: not a single brick, inscription, or contemporary account from Babylon itself confirms they ever existed. So why do we still chase this phantom wonder? The case for their reality hinges on tantalizing but shaky ground. Greek historians like Strabo and Diodorus Siculus described them in vivid detail centuries after their alleged construction, painting pictures of intricate aqueducts and screw pumps lifting water from the Euphrates to nourish the gardens. The engineering would have been revolutionary, an oasis sustained against all odds, requiring hydraulic systems advanced beyond their time. Yet modern archaeologists have combed the ruins of Babylon near present-day Hilla, Iraq, and found nothing. No irrigation channels, no terracing, no trace of the exotic plants that supposedly thrived there. It's as if the gardens evaporated into myth. Then there's the geographical paradox. Babylon sits in one of the hottest, driest regions on Earth. Even with advanced irrigation, maintaining sprawling gardens in such a climate would have been a Herculean task. Some scholars propose a fascinating workaround. Maybe the gardens weren't in Babylon at all. Assyrian records mention a similar marvel near Nineveh, built by King Sennacherib a century earlier. His palace inscriptions boast of an elaborate garden like Mount Amanus, fed by a sprawling aqueduct system still visible today. Could later writers have conflated the two, transplanting Nineveh's gardens into Babylon's legend? But let's play devil's advocate. What if the gardens did exist, just not as we envision them? Perhaps they weren't the towering green monument of lore, but a more modest royal garden exaggerated over centuries into a wonder. Ancient kings loved boasting about their achievements. Maybe Nebuchadnezzar's small botanical experiment grew taller with each retelling. Or consider this, Babylon's famed Ishtar Gate was once thought mythical too, until archaeologists unearthed its blue-glazed bricks. Could the garden still lie buried, waiting for the right shovel to strike? The mystery endures because it speaks to something deeper than archaeology. The Hanging Gardens represent humanity's yearning to conquer the impossible, to make deserts bloom, to build beauty where none should thrive. Whether real or imagined, they've rooted themselves in our collective consciousness, a testament to the power of stories to shape history. And that's the real wonder, how a garden we can't prove existed still grows so vividly in our minds, its shadow stretching across millennia. High on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, the ruins of Delphi still hum with an energy that's hard to ignore. This wasn't just a temple, it was the beating heart of the ancient world, a place where kings and peasants alike journeyed to hear the words of the Pythia, the oracle who spoke for Apollo himself. Picture this, a woman seated on a tripod above a fissure in the earth, breathing in vapors that sent her into a divine frenzy, her cryptic utterances translated by priests into prophecies that shaped the fate of nations. But here's what's wild: modern science might have cracked part of the mystery. Geologists discovered ethylene gas seeping from the very rocks beneath the temple, a sweet-smelling anesthetic known to induce trances. Coincidence or proof that the ancients understood more about their sacred site than we realized? Yet the gas alone doesn't explain Delphi's enduring power. The temple sat at the crossroads of ley lines, those invisible energy channels said to connect sacred sites across the globe. Pilgrims reported feeling a palpable charge in the air, as if the place itself was alive. And then there's the omphalos, the navel of the world, a carved stone marking Delphi as the center of everything. Was this just symbolism, or did the Greeks truly believe this spot held cosmic significance? The answer might lie in the temple's influence. When Croesus, the wealthy king of Lydia, asked whether he should wage war on Persia, the oracle famously replied, "If you attack, a great empire will fall." He did, and it was his own. Athens, Sparta, even Alexander the Great sought her counsel, treating her words as divine GPS for their ambitions. But the real enigma is the Pythia herself. Chosen from among Delphi's priestesses, she wasn't some lofty figure cloistered away. She was a local woman, often uneducated, suddenly thrust into the role of divine mouthpiece. After rituals involving laurel leaves and sacred spring water, she'd descend into that famous trance, her voice shifting, her body convulsing as if possessed. The priests would interpret her ravings, usually in verse so ambiguous it could mean anything. Was this theater or something deeper? Some scholars argue the Pythia's state was a form of controlled psychosis, her mind tapping into a collective unconscious. Others suggest the entire setup was a brilliant political tool, a way for Delphi's priests to sway events while maintaining plausible deniability. Then there's the chilling footnote to this story. As Christianity rose, Delphi's flame flickered out. The last recorded prophecy, a lament that the gods had gone silent. Today, all that's left are echoes, broken columns, faded inscriptions, and the lingering question of how much was divine inspiration and how much was human ingenuity. Standing among those ruins, you can almost hear the whispers of the Pythia, her voice carried on the wind, still refusing to give up all her secrets. Angkor Wat rises from the Cambodian jungle like a stone hymn to the heavens, its 5 iconic towers mirroring the peaks of Mount Meru, the sacred center of the Hindu cosmos. This isn't just a temple, it's a celestial map carved into sandstone, a sprawling testament to the Khmer Empire's obsession with aligning earth and sky. At sunrise during the spring equinox, the sun climbs perfectly over the central tower, casting a shadow that aligns with the temple's longest corridor, as if the builders had threaded sunlight itself into their design. But the real magic lies in the details. Walk the galleries, and you'll find bas-reliefs stretching longer than football fields, depicting not just Hindu epics like the churning of the ocean of milk, but precise astronomical events, eclipses, comets, even constellations arranged as they would have appeared in the 12th century. Was this a sacred calendar, a snapshot of the heavens frozen in stone? Then there's the staggering scale of its construction. Over 5 million tons of sandstone were quarried from Mount Kulin, floated down canals, and fitted together with joints so precise they didn't need mortar. The entire complex covers over 400 acres, larger than modern Vatican City, yet every inch feels intentional. The moat surrounding Angkor Wat isn't just decorative. Its dimensions mirror cosmic oceans from Hindu mythology, while the temple's westward orientation, unusual for Hindu shrines, suggests a funerary purpose. Some scholars believe it was originally built as a mausoleum for King Suryavarman II, his ashes meant to ascend along those equinoctial sunbeams. Others argue it was a living mandala, a place where priests could walk the path of the gods, tracing the universe's blueprint with their footsteps. But the greatest mystery isn't how Angkor Wat was built, it's why it was abandoned. At its peak, the Khmer capital was the largest pre-industrial city on Earth, home to nearly 1 million people. Then, in the 15th century, it vanished into the jungle, its canals choked with silt, its libraries lost to time. Climate studies reveal a grim clue: decades of drought followed by catastrophic monsoons, a 1-2 punch that may have collapsed the intricate water management system the empire relied on. Yet there's another layer. Recent LiDAR scans have uncovered vast urban networks beneath the foliage, suggesting Angkor didn't so much fall as transform, its people gradually shifting to coastal trade as the land turned against them. What lingers is the haunting genius of its design. Angkor Wat doesn't just reflect the cosmos, it encodes it, from the precession of the equinoxes in its gallery carvings to the fractal-like repetition of its towers, each one a smaller version of the whole. Standing in its shadow, you're left wondering, were the Khmers merely honoring the gods, or were they trying to build a doorway to them? The temple's silence holds the answer, but like the morning sun sliding across its stones, it slips away just as you think you've grasped it. Buried beneath the earth for over 2,000 years, the Terracotta Army stands as one of history's most jaw-dropping acts of devotion and paranoia. Picture this: 8,000 life-sized soldiers, each with a face so distinct you'd swear they were modeled after real people. Their armor bears the marks of individual craftsmanship, their hairstyles reflect military ranks, even their expressions vary, some stoic, some fierce, as if frozen mid-battle. This wasn't mass production, it was an army sculpted one soul at a time, all to guard China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, in the afterlife. But why go to such lengths? The answer lies in a man so terrified of death, he built an entire underworld kingdom to cheat it. The scale alone defies belief. Discovered by farmers in 1974, the pits near Xi'an stretch over 14,000 square meters, housing not just warriors but chariots, horses, and even acrobats, a microcosm of the imperial court meant to serve Qin forever. Archaeologists estimate over 700,000 laborers worked for nearly 4 decades to create this subterranean marvel. Yet the soldiers are just the tip of the iceberg. Ancient texts describe the emperor's tomb as a paradise of precious stones, with rivers of mercury symbolizing the yellow and Yangtze, and constellations of pearls on the ceiling. Modern scans confirm alarming mercury levels in the soil, suggesting those legends might be true. But here's the chilling part: no one's opened the central tomb. Why? Because the records also warn of crossbow traps, poison gases, and mechanized arrows rigged to fire at intruders. Qin didn't just want companionship in death, he wanted absolute security. What's truly mesmerizing is how the army reflects Qin's obsession with control. In life, he standardized weights, script, even axle widths across China. In death, he replicated that order down to the last terracotta buckle. But there's a dark irony. The emperor spent his reign searching for an elixir of immortality, consuming mercury-laced potions that likely hastened his end. His tomb then becomes a paradox, a monument to both his power and his vulnerability, a king who conquered 7 warring states but couldn't conquer time. And the mystery deepens. Recent excavations reveal evidence of fire damage, suggesting the pits were looted and burned shortly after Qin's death, perhaps by rebels seeking vengeance against his brutal reign. Yet the tomb itself remains untouched, its secrets locked away. Some scholars believe it could hold groundbreaking artifacts, early forms of paper, lost texts, even advanced technology. Others fear disturbing it might destroy priceless relics or unleash those fabled traps. Standing before these silent sentinels, you're left with a haunting thought. The terracotta army wasn't just meant to protect an emperor, it was a mirror. In their unblinking stares, we see humanity's oldest struggle, the hunger to leave a mark that outlasts mortality. Qin's clay warriors did just that, but at what cost? His tomb is the ultimate unopened door, and behind it lies not just a man's legacy, but a warning about the price of eternity. Deep in the Sahara Desert, a colossal eye stares up at the sky, a 50-kilometer-wide ringed formation so bizarre, it looks like a landing pad for giants. This is the Richat Structure, nicknamed the Eye of the Sahara, and it's one of Earth's most mesmerizing geological quirks. But here's where things get wild. Some researchers believe this isn't just a natural wonder, it's the smoking gun for one of history's greatest mysteries. What if the Richat Structure isn't just a random erosion pattern, but the ruins of Atlantis itself? The theory hinges on eerie parallels with Plato's ancient accounts. In his dialogues, he described Atlantis as a city of concentric rings, alternating circles of land and water, with a central island housing a grand temple. Zoom in on satellite images of the Richat, and you'll see those exact rings staring back, as if someone took Plato's blueprint and pressed it into the desert. Even the dimensions match. Plato claimed Atlantis was roughly 23 kilometers across, the Richat's outer ring, 23.5 kilometers. Coincidence or something more? Then there's the location puzzle. Plato placed Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, a traditionally thought to mean the Strait of Gibraltar, pointing to the Atlantic. But what if he meant the opposite direction? The Richat sits in Mauritania, west of Egypt, where Plato's informants sourced their knowledge. Ancient Egyptian texts speak of a prosperous kingdom to their west, destroyed by catastrophe. The Sahara wasn't always a desert. 12,000 years ago, it was a lush savanna. Could rising seas or shifting climate have erased Atlantis's true setting? But skeptics aren't convinced. Geologists argue the Richat's rings are the result of 100 million years of erosion, a collapsed volcanic dome sculpted by wind and time. No artifacts, no pottery shards, no definitive proof of human habitation has been found in its core. Yet explorers report scattered stone tools and odd, rectangular formations that resemble foundations, hinting at possible ancient activity. The debate boils down to this: if Atlantis was real, wouldn't we have found more than just suggestive geology? Perhaps the truth lies in the middle. Maybe the Richat wasn't Atlantis, but inspired the legend, a natural marvel so striking early travelers spun tales around it. Or maybe we're looking at it backward. Instead of a city built to mirror the rings, could ancient people have seen the structure's symmetry and built their myths to match? Either way, the eye of the Sahara refuses to blink, its silent gaze challenging us to reconsider where or what Atlantis truly was. One thing certain, in the shifting sands of history, some mysteries refuse to be buried. The Voynich manuscript sits in Yale University's Voynich library like a riddle wrapped in vellum, a book that mocks every attempt to crack its secrets. Flipping through its 240 pages feels like stepping into an alien botanist's fever dream. Lush illustrations of plants that don't exist on Earth cascade alongside, naked women bathing in emerald green tubes, celestial diagrams with spiraling stars, and page after page of text written in a script that looks familiar yet defies translation. This isn't just a mystery, it's a 400-year-old taunt to human curiosity. Carbon dated to the early 15th century, the manuscript's origins are as murky as its content. Was it the work of a medieval con artist, a coded scientific treatise, or something even stranger? Take the language itself. The Voynich script flows like a real alphabet, with patterns that mimic natural speech, repetitions, word lengths, even spaces between sentences that suggest grammar. But every attempt to decode it collapses. World War II codebreakers, Cold War cryptologists, even AI algorithms trained on hundreds of languages have all failed. Some argue it's an elaborate cipher, hiding a known language behind layers of substitution. Others propose it's glossolalia, meaningless, automatic writing from a trance state. Then there's the statistical analysis. The text follows Zipf's law, a linguistic principle seen in real languages where common words appear frequently while rarer ones taper off. This detail alone keeps scholars awake at night. If it's a hoax, why go to such lengths to mimic the mathematics of speech? Then there's the art. Those bizarre plants, some with roots like human limbs, others with leaves that spiral into fractal patterns, don't match any known species. Herbalists have spent lifetimes trying to identify them, with theories ranging from extinct flora to symbolic representations of alchemical processes. The biological section shows women intertwined with what might be organs or vessels, floating in liquid-filled chambers that look eerily like early depictions of cellular structures. And the astronomy pages, they feature zodiac symbols but arranged in ways that don't correspond to any actual sky maps. It's as if the creator pulled imagery from dreams, stitching together a cosmology that exists only within the manuscript's pages. Theories spiral into the fantastical. Some claim it's a lost proto-language, a pre-Babel tongue preserved by a secret society. Others whisper it's extraterrestrial, a stranded traveler's attempt to document Earth's flora. More grounded hypotheses suggest it's a medieval book of secrets, encoded to protect herbal remedies or alchemical formulas from prying eyes, but the most haunting possibility, that it's neither cipher nor nonsense, but a language so isolated, perhaps invented by a single individual, that without a Rosetta Stone we may never understand it. What lingers isn't just frustration, but awe. The Voynich manuscript refuses to surrender its truth, and that's precisely why it captivates. In an age where we can sequence genomes and map black holes, this unassuming book remains a fortress of the unknown. It's a reminder that some puzzles aren't meant to be solved, only pondered, turning each generation's brightest minds into temporary caretakers of its mystery. The real magic isn't in cracking the code, but in the questions it keeps alive. Buried beneath the waves for 2,000 years, the Antikythera mechanism emerged from a shipwreck off the Greek coast like a ghost from the past, a corroded bronze puzzle that would rewrite history. At first glance, it resembled a lump of rock encrusted with marine growth. But when archaeologists peered inside, they found gears, dozens of them, interlocking with a precision that shouldn't exist in an artifact dated to around 80 BCE. This wasn't just an ancient clock or a simple calendar. It was a machine that could predict solar eclipses, track the movements of planets, and even forecast the dates of the Olympic Games, a mechanical computer centuries ahead of its time. The genius of its design still stuns engineers today. Tiny teeth on bronze gears, some just a millimeter wide, meshed together to model the erratic dance of the moon across the sky, accounting for its elliptical orbit, a mathematical feat the Greeks weren't supposed to understand. The front dial displayed the zodiac and an Egyptian calendar, while the back housed spiral mechanisms that acted as eclipse predictors and athletic event timers. Imagine a handheld planetarium capable of simulating celestial cycles with the turn of a crank. The closest technology of comparable complexity wouldn't appear again until the mechanical clocks of medieval Europe over 1,000 years later. So how did this technological marvel vanish from history without a trace? Theories about its purpose spiral as intricately as its gears. Some argue it was a teaching device, a philosopher's tool to demonstrate the harmony of the cosmos. Others believe it guided sailors, its astronomical predictions helping navigate the treacherous Mediterranean. But the most tantalizing idea, that the Antikythera mechanism wasn't unique. Ancient texts mention similar devices. Archimedes reportedly built a globe that mirrored the heavens, and Cicero wrote of a machine that replicated planetary motion. Could this shipwreck artifact be the lone survivor of a forgotten tradition of ancient engineering? Perhaps the real mystery isn't how it worked, but why the knowledge behind it disappeared. The Roman conquest of Greece, the burning of libraries like Alexandria, the shift from scientific inquiry to mysticism, any of these could have severed the thread of technical wisdom. The mechanism's very existence hints at a shadow history of innovation, one where the line between myth and science blurs. Holding its reconstructed fragments today, you're left with a chilling thought. If the Greeks could build this, what else did they know that we've yet to rediscover? The Antikythera mechanism doesn't just challenge our timeline of progress, it whispers of entire chapters of human genius lost to the sea. In a quiet corner of the National Museum of Iraq sits an unassuming clay jar, no taller than your hand, its yellowed surface etched with the cracks of 2,000 years. But peer inside, and the ordinary gives way to the extraordinary. A copper cylinder, an iron rod, and traces of an acidic substance once filled this vessel, creating a setup that any modern scientist would recognize, a primitive battery. Known as the Baghdad Battery, this artifact from the Parthian period around 200 BCE shouldn't exist according to our standard timelines of innovation. Yet here it is, whispering of electroplated jewelry, temple mysteries, and medical procedures that might have harnessed the invisible power of electricity long before Galvani made frogs' legs twitch in the 18th century. The mechanics are deceptively simple. Fill the jar with vinegar or grape juice, both acidic liquids readily available to ancient Mesopotamians, and the reaction between the copper and iron generates a small electrical current around 1 volt. Not enough to power a light bulb, but sufficient for subtle applications. Think gold plating delicate objects without fire, or administering mild shocks for pain relief, a practice documented in ancient Greek and Egyptian medical texts. Some researchers even speculate these batteries could have been linked in series to amplify their output, creating enough voltage to produce a tingling sensation or even electroplate small artifacts. Skeptics, of course, have their doubts. Without wires or clear documentation, how can we be sure these weren't just storage vessels for sacred scrolls? But the evidence leans toward something more intentional. Similar jars found across the region lack the distinctive copper and iron components, and the asphalt stopper used to seal the battery would have insulated the metals, preventing accidental discharge. Then there's the curious absence of corrosion inside, a telltale sign of electrochemical activity. The implications ripple outward. If the Parthians or their predecessors truly stumbled upon electricity, what else might they have discovered? Ancient texts speak of temple rituals involving divine light and metal statues that emitted strange hums. Could these be garbled accounts of electrostatic experiments? The Baghdad battery forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Technological knowledge isn't always linear. Sometimes it flares brightly, then vanishes into the shadows, leaving behind only cryptic clues for future generations to puzzle over. What's most haunting isn't the artifact itself, but the questions it leaves unanswered. How widespread was this knowledge? Were these batteries discarded toys, or the last remnants of a deeper understanding? Standing before this humble jar, you're left to wonder how many other breakthroughs lie buried in the dust, waiting to upend everything we think we know about the past. Beneath the rolling hills of China's Zhejiang province lies a secret that defies both time and logic: the Longyu Caves, discovered by accident in 1992 when a curious villager drained a local pond. These sprawling subterranean chambers stretch across 30,000 square meters, their ceilings towering as high as 10-story buildings. What's astonishing isn't just their size, but their precision. Every wall, pillar, and arch is carved with geometric perfection, angles so sharp they could have been cut by lasers, surfaces smooth to a near-mirror finish. And here's what really rattles archaeologists. This wasn't the work of machines. Every inch was chiseled by hand over 2,000 years ago, yet not a single tool mark or historical record hints at who did it or why. Step inside and the caves whisper with eerie acoustics. Clap your hands and the sound ricochets in harmonic echoes, as if the chambers were tuned like musical instruments. Some researchers believe this wasn't accidental. Could these spaces have been used for rituals, their resonant properties amplifying chants or ceremonies? Others point to the cave walls, adorned with uniform parallel grooves that ripple like frozen waves, a decorative choice or something more functional. The patterns align perfectly with the direction of the rock's natural grain, suggesting the builders understood the stone's properties intimately. Then there's the logistical nightmare of their construction. Removing an estimated 1 million cubic meters of stone would have required thousands of workers laboring for decades, yet there's no evidence of rubble disposal or tools left behind. Even stranger, the caves are devoid of the usual relics: no pottery shards, no burial goods, not even soot from torches. It's as if they were carved, used briefly, then abandoned to silence. Theories spiral. Some propose they were imperial storage vaults, their cool, stable temperatures ideal for preserving grain or treasures. Others argue they're part of a larger, still hidden network, perhaps even linked to the legendary Dragon Veins, ancient China's purported energy grid. But the most haunting idea, that they were never meant for the living at all. The cave's layouts mirror above-ground tombs of the period, leading some to speculate they're a shadowy underworld palace, a monument to the dead so vast it required hollowing out the earth itself. What lingers isn't just the mystery of their purpose, but the sheer audacity of their creation. The Longyu Caves are a testament to human ambition and humility. They remind us that even in our age of satellites and supercomputers, the past can still carve out questions too deep to fill. The Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer, sits in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace like a time capsule of impossible knowledge. At first glance, it's just another aged parchment. its edges frayed by centuries, its ink faded to sepia. But look closer, the coastlines it traces shouldn't exist. There, nestled near the southern edge of the map, lies what appears to be the outline of Antarctica, but not as we know it today. This version of the continent is ice-free, its rugged shores exposed, its contours eerily matching modern sonar surveys of the landmass beneath the glaciers. The problem: Antarctica's coasts haven't been visible since at least 4000 BCE, when the last ice age locked them behind miles of frozen armor. So how did a 16th century mapmaker sketch a continent humanity wouldn't officially discover for another 300 years? Theories spiral like the map's intricate wind roses. Piri Reis himself left clues in the margins, noting that his work synthesized older charts, some dating back to Alexander the Great's era, others pulled from captured Spanish and Portuguese navigators. Could these lost source maps have preserved fragments of ancient exploration, traces of a forgotten seafaring culture that charted the globe long before recorded history? The map's accuracy isn't limited to Antarctica. It depicts the Amazon with startling precision, its river bends matching aerial surveys, while the Andes rise in the correct orientation details Europeans couldn't have known in 1513. Even more perplexing is the inclusion of a land bridge between South America and Antarctica, a feature that would have vanished under rising seas over 10,000 years ago. Skeptics argue it's all coincidence, that the southern landmass is just a mislabeled continuation of South America, distorted by the quirks of early cartography. But the math doesn't add up. The map's latitude and longitude lines, though crude, align with celestial navigation techniques older than the Ottoman Empire itself. Some researchers point to the possibility of medieval Arab or Chinese voyages, their records lost to time, while others whisper of even older sources, perhaps survivors of a pre-Ice Age civilization, their knowledge passed down through generations of mariners. Then there's the chilling implication. If the Piri Reis map truly preserves ancient Antarctic coastlines, it suggests whoever charted them did so in an era when the continent was habitable. What else might those forgotten explorers have known? The map's cryptic notes mention burning black stones and metal that never rusts. Could these be garbled references to coal deposits or stainless steel artifacts, resources we've since discovered beneath Antarctica's ice? The questions multiply faster than answers, each layer peeling back to reveal deeper mysteries. What makes the Piri Reis map so enthralling isn't just its anomalies, but what it represents: a flicker of alternate history, a glimpse of a world where knowledge wasn't lost but scattered, waiting to be pieced back together. It's a reminder that our understanding of the past is built on fragments, and sometimes those fragments don't fit the story we've been telling. The map doesn't just challenge geography, it challenges time itself, holding up a mirror to our assumptions and asking quietly but insistently, how much do we really know? High above the city of Cusco, the zigzagging walls of Sacsayhuaman rise from the earth like the teeth of a giant stone serpent. Each massive block, some weighing over 100 tons, fits so seamlessly against its neighbors that even after 5 centuries of earthquakes, you can't slide a sheet of paper between them. This isn't just masonry, it's a 3-dimensional puzzle carved from solid andesite, a rock so hard it defies modern chisels. The Incas had no iron tools, no mortar, no wheels, yet they shaped these monoliths with curves and angles so precise they seemed to defy gravity. How did they do it? Archaeologists have uncovered simple stone hammers and bronze chisels at the site, but these tools alone couldn't explain the laser-like precision. Some theorize the builders used a technique called pecking, patiently grinding the rock with harder stones until it surrendered to the desired shape. Others point to mysterious molds or even plant-based acids to soften the stone temporarily, though no evidence of such methods survives. Then there's the eerie perfection of the joints. The blocks don't just meet flush, they interlock like puzzle pieces, their undulating surfaces distributing weight and seismic forces in ways modern engineers still study. But the real wonder isn't just how they built it, it's why. The fortress's jagged walls mirror the silhouette of the surrounding mountains, as if the Incas were stitching their architecture into the landscape itself. Hidden tunnels snake beneath the stones, some leading to ceremonial baths, others to chambers that hum with strange acoustics. At sunrise during the summer solstice, the shadows cast by the zigzag walls align with carved channels in the rock, creating a spectacle of light and shadow that might have marked sacred rituals. Then there's the darker theory. Spanish chronicles describe Sacsayhuamán as a blood-stained stage for the last stand of the Inca resistance, its terraces littered with the wreckage of siege engines. Yet the stones themselves tell a different story, one of reverence, not war. The niches and staircases seem designed for procession, not defense. Maybe this was never a fortress at all, but a temple disguised as one, its true purpose encrypted in those immaculate joints. What lingers isn't just admiration for the craftsmanship, but the unsettling question of what else the Incas knew, and how much of that knowledge was lost to time. These walls don't just guard a hilltop, they guard secrets, their silent stones daring us to decode a language written in geometry and shadow. The Karnak stones march across the French countryside like a petrified army frozen mid-maneuver, their silent ranks stretching for miles along Brittany's windswept coast. With over 3,000 megaliths standing in eerie, precision-placed rows, this isn't just a collection of rocks, it's a Neolithic masterpiece that defies simple explanation. Unlike the towering monoliths of Stonehenge or the carved figures of Easter Island, the Karnak stones whisper their mystery through repetition, their power lying in the hypnotic rhythm of their alignment. Some rise taller than a person, others barely knee-high, yet together they form geometric patterns so deliberate, they feel like a language written in stone. Dating back to around 4,500 BC, these megaliths were erected by a society with no written records, leaving us to decode their purpose through archaeology and imagination. One prevailing theory casts them as celestial calculators, their rows aligned to solstice sunrises or lunar standstills. The Grand Menhir Brisset, now toppled but once the tallest standing stone in Europe, may have served as a sighting device for tracking the moon's complex cycles. Others argue the stones acted as territorial markers, dividing sacred from mundane space in a landscape where every hill and spring pulsed with spiritual significance. But here's the puzzle: if they were boundary lines, why the staggering scale? The main alignments at Voynich and Camario contain nearly 1,100 stones each, an investment of labor that suggests something far more profound than mere property dividers. Then there's the ritual angle. Local folklore speaks of the stones as pagan soldiers turned to rock by Christian saints, but archaeologists uncover darker clues. Excavations reveal burials and offerings near the bases of certain menhirs, hinting at ceremonies where the living communed with ancestors or deities through these stone sentinels. The proximity to the Atlantic adds another layer. Could the stones have been part of a coastal pilgrimage, their rows guiding processions toward the setting sun? What's most haunting isn't the lack of answers, but the organization behind them. Transporting and erecting these stones required not just brute strength, but sophisticated social coordination. The builders likely used wooden sledges, ropes, and earthen ramps, their efforts synchronized by a shared vision we can barely glimpse today. The sheer consistency of the alignments across centuries suggests a cultural memory passed down through generations, a tradition so vital it warranted moving mountains of stone. Standing among them today, you're struck by their quiet persistence. Unlike the pyramids or Angkor Wat, the Karnak stones don't dazzle with grandeur. They unsettle with their numbers, their uniformity, their refusal to yield meaning. They're a reminder that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only witnessed, their purpose locked in the minds of people who walked these fields millennia before the first Celtic tongue was spoken. The stones remain, as they always have, waiting for the right eyes to see what we've been missing. Beneath the turquoise waters off Japan's Yonaguni Island, a monstrous shape looms from the seabed, a terraced structure so geometric it feels like a mirage. Stretching 76 meters long and rising 25 meters high, the Yonaguni Monument's flat platforms, sharp edges, and near-perfect right angles defy easy explanation. Discovered in 1986 by a diver searching for hammerhead shark migration routes, this sprawling formation has ignited a firestorm of debate. Is it the handiwork of nature's patient erosion, or the drowned ruins of a civilization swallowed by the Pacific millennia ago? The case for human craftsmanship is compelling. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura, who has studied the site for decades, points to features that seem anything but random. Twin megaliths resembling carved pillars stand sentinel near the structure's apex, while a straight 30-meter-long trench runs with ruler-like precision along its base. Nearby, what looks like a carved staircase ascends in perfect increments, and a circular depression mirrors ritual basins found in ancient Okinawan temples. Even the terraces themselves, stacked like a ziggurat, echo the architectural style of Japan's prehistoric Jomon culture, known for building stone circles and earthworks as early as 14,000 BCE. But skeptics like geologist Robert Schoch counter that nature is fully capable of such geometry. Sandstone, the rock composing Yonaguni, fractures along clean plains when exposed to tectonic shifts and tidal forces. The steps could be natural bedding planes, while the carvings might be scars left by centuries of currents. Even the monument's location in an earthquake-prone zone raises the possibility that seismic activity sculpted its striking features. Then there's the tantalizing link to legend. Ancient Ryukyuan folklore speaks of a sunken kingdom called Kaijima, lost beneath the waves in a cataclysmic event. Could Yonaguni be its last remnant? Some researchers stretch the thread further, tying it to the mythical continent of Mu, a Pacific counterpart to Atlantis, said to have vanished 12,000 years ago. While mainstream archaeology dismisses Mu as pseudoscience, the monument's potential age, estimated by Kimura to be at least 5,000 years old, places it in a time when sea levels were dramatically lower. What's now underwater could have once been dry land, a coastal temple or settlement now claimed by the ocean. Diving deeper into the mystery, recent sonar scans reveal even more anomalies. A series of smaller, similar structures dot the seafloor nearby, some resembling roads or canals. Underwater, totems bear uncanny resemblances to human faces, though erosion makes confirmation nearly impossible. The most haunting detail, a triangular boulder perched atop the main platform, perfectly balanced as if placed deliberately, a feature virtually unheard of in natural formations. What lingers isn't just the question of origin, but the implications. If human hands shaped Yonaguni, it would rewrite the timeline of Pacific civilizations, suggesting a sophistication far older than recorded history. Yet, even if nature carved it, the monument's eerie symmetry challenges our assumptions about what the Earth can sculpt on its own. Like a Rorschach test in stone, Yonaguni reflects back what we bring to it, proof of lost empires for believers, a geological marvel for skeptics. The truth may lie somewhere beneath the waves, waiting for the next tide of discovery to wash it ashore. Deep within the temple complex of Hathor at Dendera, a peculiar carving dances across the ancient stone, a serpent coiled inside an elongated bulb-like object, its tail connected to a cable that seems to snake toward a box held by a priest-like figure. To modern eyes, it looks uncannily like a light bulb, complete with a filament and socket. This is the so-called Dendera light, a 2,000-year-old enigma that sparked one of archaeology's most electrifying debates. Could the ancient Egyptians have harnessed electricity? The theory isn't as far-fetched as it might seem. Pair this relief with artifacts like the Baghdad Battery, a clay jar capable of producing a small electrical charge, and suddenly, the shadows of history flicker with new possibilities. Proponents of the ancient electricity hypothesis point to the temple's dark, windowless inner chambers. How did artists paint intricate murals in pitch-black corridors without leaving soot stains from torches? Why are there no traces of oil lamps or wicks in areas where light would have been essential? The Dendera relief, they argue, might hold the answer: glass bulbs filled with argon or another inert gas, illuminated by currents generated from primitive batteries. But mainstream Egyptologists offer a different interpretation. The bulb, they explain, is likely a symbolic representation of a lotus flower cradling a snake, an emblem of creation tied to the myth of the sun god rising from primordial waters. The filament resembles the wavy lines Egyptians used to depict cosmic energy, while the cable mirrors the stylized tendrils seen in other religious iconography. The entire scene, they insist, is spiritual, not technical, a depiction of the sun's journey through the underworld, not a wiring diagram, yet the debate refuses to dim. Engineers have recreated the Dendera bulb using period-appropriate materials, demonstrating that with a Baghdad-style battery and a gold leaf filament, a faint glow is possible. Others counter that even if such devices existed, their output would have been too weak to light vast temple halls. The truth might lie somewhere in between. Perhaps the Egyptians stumbled upon electroplating, using tiny currents to gild sacred objects, and the Dendera carving mythologized this process. Or maybe the relief captures a form of ritual magic, where divine light was more metaphysical than literal. What makes the Dendera light so compelling isn't just the question of ancient technology, but what it reveals about our own assumptions. We're quick to project modern frameworks onto the past, to see light bulbs where ancients saw symbols. But what if both perspectives hold a spark of truth? Whether the carving depicts electricity or esoteric wisdom, it undeniably points to a sophistication we're still unraveling, one where science and spirituality might have been threads of the same sacred cord. Towering over other medieval manuscripts like a behemoth of vellum and ink, the Codex Gigas, better known as the Devil's Bible, weighs as much as a grown man and demands the strength of 2 librarians just to lift its wooden covers. But it's not just the size that sends chills down the spine. Open to page 290, and you're met with a full-page, crimson-eyed devil, crouched in a void of empty parchment, his claws curled around the edges of the frame as if he might crawl out. This isn't just a doodle in the margins, it's a masterwork of medieval terror, a visual scream frozen in time. And according to the legend scrawled in its own pages, this monstrous book was penned in a single night by a desperate monk who made a deal with the Prince of Darkness himself. The story goes like this. In the early 13th century, a Benedictine monk named Herman the Recluse broke his vows and faced being walled up alive as punishment. To save himself, he promised his abbey he'd create a work containing all human knowledge in one night. As midnight approached and the task seemed impossible, he prayed not to God but to the devil. In exchange for his soul, the fallen angel finished the manuscript by dawn, the proof, that infamous devil portrait, along with pages of flawless script, no errors, no corrections, as if written by an inhuman hand. But let's step back from folklore and into the light of evidence. The Codex Gigas is real, housed today in Sweden's National Library, and scientific analysis tells a different tale. Carbon dating places its creation around the year 1220, and while the text is eerily consistent, handwriting experts detect at least 2 scribes. The ink, standard iron gall, mixed with crushed insects for the devil's red pigment. Yet the mystery deepens when you consider the content. Alongside the complete Latin Bible, it contains bizarre additions, medical treatises on exorcisms, a calendar marking feast days for obscure saints, and even a list of local monks in Bohemia, some names crossed out as if cursed. Then there's the eerie precision. The manuscript's 500 pages, originally over 600 before some were ripped out, maintain a uniform layout as if the scribes worked under a trance. Even stranger, the devil portrait faces a heavenly city on the opposite page, locked in a cosmic standoff. Was this a warning against temptation or something darker? Some scholars argue the Codex was a penitential project, its creation a form of religious atonement. Others whisper it was a medieval, dangerous knowledge vault, compiled to contain heresies that couldn't be destroyed. The most haunting question isn't whether the devil helped write it, it's why someone would want us to believe he did. In an age when books were rare and literacy rarer, the Codex Gigas was a spectacle, an object of power. Its very existence blurred the line between divine and diabolical, a reminder that knowledge, no matter how sacred, could come at a price. Today, as visitors line up to glimpse its pages, the legend lingers like old incense. Maybe the real magic wasn't in its creation, but in the fear it inspired, a book so heavy with secrets, it feels less like a manuscript and more like a locked door. And some doors, once opened, are impossible to shut. Off the fog-draped coast of Nova Scotia, a small, unassuming island hides a riddle that's consumed lives and fortunes for over 200 years. Oak Island's so-called money pit isn't just a hole in the ground, it's a labyrinth of flooding tunnels, cryptic markings, and layers of oak logs placed at precise 10-foot intervals, as if daring explorers to dig deeper. The first recorded attempt to unravel its secrets dates back to 1795, when 3 teenagers stumbled upon a depression in the earth and a block and tackle hanging from a tree. Beneath the dirt, they hit a layer of flagstones, then oak platforms, then charcoal and mysterious coconut fiber materials utterly foreign to the region. With every foot they dug, seawater began seeping in, as if the pit itself was fighting back. What could possibly justify such an elaborate defense system? Theories range from the plausible to the fantastical. Some believe it's the lost treasure of Captain Kidd, the infamous pirate who supposedly whispered of a buried fortune on his deathbed. Others point to the Knights Templar who fled Europe with rumored relics like the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail, and may have chosen this remote island as their final hiding place. Then there's the Shakespearean angle, cryptic stones bearing strange symbols like the infamous 40 feet below, £2 million lie buried inscription, fueling speculation that original manuscripts or royal jewels were stashed here by Elizabethan conspirators. But the real enigma isn't just what's buried, it's how the pit was engineered. Modern excavations reveal a network of flood tunnels, some connected to the ocean, designed to drown anyone who breaches certain depths. These aren't crude traps, they're sophisticated hydrological feats, suggesting knowledge far beyond what pirates or even Templars should have possessed. Divers have encountered wooden cribbing and box drains, while sonar scans hint at artificial chambers deep below. Yet every attempt to reach them has been met with disaster, collapsing shafts, equipment failures, and at least 6 deaths, earning Oak Island its curse-like reputation. Skeptics argue the entire thing is an elaborate natural formation, enhanced by centuries of wishful thinking, the coconut fiber, driftwood from Caribbean trade routes. The inscribed stones, pareidolia, our brains finding patterns where none exist. Even the flooding could be explained by the island's porous limestone bedrock and tidal forces. But then there's the odd artifact trail, a Spanish copper coin dated to the 1600s, a scrap of parchment with inked letters, and a wrought iron hinge that predates any known settlement in the area. What keeps the legend alive isn't just the potential treasure, it's the human drama. Families have bankrupted themselves chasing the pit's secrets, while modern teams with satellite imaging and drilling rigs still can't crack its code. The island seems to taunt us, offering just enough clues to sustain hope but never surrender the truth. Whether it's gold or ghosts, the money pit endures as a mirror to our obsession with the unknown, proving that sometimes the greatest treasure isn't what's buried, but the stories we unearth along the way. From the pyramids to underwater ruins, these ancient wonders remind us that history is far from settled. Each monument is a puzzle, inviting us to question, explore, and imagine the possibilities. Were their builders aided by lost technologies, extraterrestrials, or simply genius we've yet to rediscover? The answers may lie buried, waiting for the next breakthrough. If you're as fascinated as we are, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which mystery intrigues you most. The past is calling, will you answer? But here's the thing, these monuments aren't just relics of the past. They're mirrors reflecting our own curiosity, our hunger to understand the people who came before us. Think about the hands that carved Stonehenge's stones, the minds that aligned the Great Pyramid with the stars, the voices that once echoed through Delphi's sacred halls. These weren't primitive cultures stumbling in the dark. They were innovators, astronomers, engineers whose brilliance still leaves us humbled. And yet, for all their achievements, they left behind more questions than answers, as if daring us to keep searching. What's truly remarkable is how these mysteries evolve with us. Every new technology, LiDAR scans, ground-penetrating radar, AI-assisted translations gives us fresh eyes to see what earlier generations missed. The Antikythera mechanism was once dismissed as a corroded lump until X-rays revealed its gears. The Nazca Lines were just scratches in the dirt until viewed from the sky. Who knows what secrets we'll uncover next? Maybe tomorrow's breakthrough will rewrite the story of the Sphinx, or finally crack the Voynich manuscript's code. And that's the real magic of these ancient wonders. They're not static, they're conversations across time. Every generation brings its own perspective, its own tools, its own stubborn refusal to accept that the past is finished speaking. So whether you're drawn to the mathematical precision of the pyramids, the celestial whispers of Angkor Wat, or the eerie silence of Göbekli Tepe, remember, you're part of this story too. The next clue, the next revelation could come from anywhere, maybe even from you. If these mysteries ignite something in you, that itch to dig deeper, to question, to wonder, then you're already part of the adventure. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next dive into the unknown, and drop a comment below telling us which ancient site leaves you awestruck. History isn't just about what's been found, it's about what's still out there waiting, and who knows, the next great discovery might just have your name on it. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop listening to the whispers of the past. They have so much left to say.